Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever wondered how modern teams build the complex products we use every day? From the apps on our phones to massive software systems. Well, the answer often comes down to two little words: Agile and Scrum. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly what they are and how they actually work. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the problem Agile was born to solve. Then we'll dig into its core philosophy and get into the nitty-gritty of Scrum, the people, the rhythm, and finally, why this way of thinking is, frankly, a game changer. So to really get Agile, you first have to understand what came before it. For decades, most projects followed a very rigid traditional model. Let's take a look at what that was like, and more importantly, why the world desperately needed a new way of thinking. Okay, so check this out. On the left, you have the old school waterfall method. Think of it like building a house. You have to have a perfect, complete blueprint before anyone can even think about laying a single brick. And once you start, changing the plan is a nightmare. But for something like software, where the world is changing constantly, that just doesn't work. Agile, on the right, is the complete opposite. It's adaptive. It's built on the idea that you're going to learn as you go. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. Agile isn't one single strict set of rules. It's a mindset. It's a philosophy that's all about working in small, repeatable cycles. We call them iterations, and improving the product piece by tiny piece, or incrementally, with a ton of feedback along the way. The whole philosophy was famously written down back in 2001 in a document that's now known as the Agile Manifesto, and it's all built on four simple but incredibly powerful values that really pushed for a more human and effective way of building things. So the first big idea is this. Yeah, processes and tools are great, but the best breakthroughs, the real solutions, they come from people actually talking to each other. Instead of filling out some 10-page form for a simple change, what if you could just walk over to a whiteboard and have a 5-minute chat? That's the spirit right there. And this one? Oh, this is all about results. Look, documentation has its place, for sure, but Agile says that the ultimate measure of progress isn't a 200-page manual. It's a product that actually works, something a real person can click on, use, and get value from. This is all about turning customers into partners. Instead of locking every single detail into a rigid contract at the very beginning, Agile is about working side by side with the customer the whole way through. That way, you're always sure you're building what they really need, not just what you agreed to months ago. And here we have it, the cornerstone of the whole thing. This value is an admission that in any complex project, change is not just possible, it's inevitable. A great team isn't one that follows a plan off a cliff. It's one that can pivot and adapt when a better idea or new information shows up. That's the superpower. Okay, so this philosophy sounds great, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you put it into practice? Well, that's where frameworks come in. And by far the most popular one out there is Scrum. It's basically the playbook that teams use to bring Agile to life every single day. You can think of Scrum as providing just enough structure with specific roles, meetings, and tools to help teams tackle really complex work. It's all about delivering real value in those short, consistent cycles we just mentioned. And in Scrum, those cycles have a name: sprints. The whole system really stands on these three pillars. First, transparency. You make the work visible so everyone knows what's going on. Second, inspection. You constantly check your work and your progress against your goals. And third, adaptation. Based on what you see, you adjust your plan. It's this simple, powerful feedback loop. See it, check it, change it. Now, to make all this work, Scrum sets up three very specific roles. And this isn't about job titles you'd see on a business card. It's about what each person is accountable for. Each role has a laser-sharp focus to keep the team balanced and moving forward. First up, the product owner. Their job is to decide what the team works on. They are the voice of the customer and the business, and it's their responsibility to make sure the team is always building the most valuable thing it possibly can at any given moment. Next, we have the Scrum Master. They focus on how the team works. They're like a coach, a facilitator, and a master problem solver all rolled into one. Their job is to help the team be as effective as possible, and, crucially, to remove any roadblocks that are getting in their way. And finally, the development team itself. These are the makers, the engineers, designers, writers, testers, the experts who actually build the product. They are self-organizing, which is a fancy way of saying they get to decide how they're going to turn the product owner's priorities into a real finished product. So you've got your team and you've got your philosophy. But what does the day-to-day, the week-to-week actually feel like? Well, it all happens inside that short time-box cycle we mentioned before, the sprint. A sprint is the heartbeat of Scrum. It is a consistent, repeating cycle, usually 2 weeks, sometimes up to 4, where the team takes an idea from the to-do list and turns it into a valuable, usable piece of the product. This fixed length is so important because it creates a predictable, focused rhythm for the whole team. To keep everything transparent, Scrum uses 3 key documents, or artifacts. And there's a really easy way to think about them. The product backlog is like your entire cookbook. Every recipe you could ever possibly make. The sprint backlog is the one recipe you've chosen to cook this week. And the product increment? That's the delicious, finished dish you can actually serve at the end of the week. And every single sprint follows this same 4-part cycle. It all kicks off with sprint planning, where the team decides what it can build. Then you have the sprint itself, that period of intense, focused work. At the end, there's a sprint review, where you show stakeholders what you built. And it wraps up with a retrospective, where the team asks, how can we be even better next time? You plan, you build, you review, you adapt, and then you do it all over again. So, okay, we've talked about roles and events and artifacts, but let's zoom out. What's the really big idea here? Why has this whole approach taken over not just software, but so many other industries? When you boil it all down, it really comes to this. Agile and Scrum are a direct response to a world that is fundamentally complex and unpredictable. Instead of pretending we have a perfect map to the future, they give us a compass and teach us how to navigate one step at a time, learning and adjusting our course as we go. It's about delivering real value, not just blindly following a plan. And that really leaves us with one last thought. This mindset, this approach, it isn't just for software developers. That core loop of making things visible, checking in on them regularly, and making smart adjustments, that's a powerful tool for tackling just about any complex challenge you can think of. So the real question is, where could you apply it?